Starting tonight.
That's a long. I don't want to read it.
Don't read that. Keep the sunrise there. I'm okay. We'll all read it. Ask
Well,
the questions.
I'll
somebody's
read
gonna
the.
sue me.
Mark, you
Yes.
certainly can read this whole resolution.
I'm not.
The thing that probably council wants to hear is that section 6.
That he emailed me probably, right? About the revenue bond.
Okay.
I think it's in that section 6.
Read that.
Mary, you doing okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Crazy weather.
90s Friday.
Barely keep up with the other.
I know.
When the sunshine comes out.
A lot of mowing needs done all over town.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any open questions about this?
I already asked mine.
I thought.
Don't know if you saw that. That was my main concern.
Well,
Because
when you
we've
read
got bond after
when you
bond after bond.
when you read this, you're thinking, wait a minute.
Right.
That's the way I had to look at it. I googled it.
Yeah.
I googled on the resolution. I forget what I came across in the cost. Inducement resolution. That's what I looked at. I googled it and figured out the question answer. No.
You gonna call him?
I haven't talked to him yet.
He's probably in
He's right there behind
Florida
you.
or something.
There he is. There he is.
There he is.
You're on time.
Everyone rise, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paul, since you got here late, would you read that first?
Well, I'd be glad to. I think I was maybe 1 minute early. Anyway, Lord, we thank you that we can come here tonight and we can gather together to do the business of the city of Newcastle. We just ask you to give us wisdom in carrying out our duties, and Lord, just continue to bless our city and watch over our people and all of our emergency services workers. And Lord, just thank you for the many blessings you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Newcastle City Council meeting Monday, May 20th, 2019 comes to order. Roll call, please.
Mary Branson.
Here.
Jeff Hancock.
Here.
Jerry Weldon.
Here.
Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Hogan.
Here.
Lynn Purdue.
Present.
Rex Beckdahl.
Here.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from the former meeting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mary Branson.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Weldon.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hogan.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beckdahl.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. President, I'll turn this meeting over to you.
Thanks, Mayor. We do have a resolution tonight, 05/20/2019, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Newcastle authorizing certain actions and proceedings with respect to the financing of a certain economic development facilities known as Autumn Oaks Apartments, whereas the City of Newcastle is authorized under Indiana Code to issue revenue bonds and lend the proceeds thereof to a developer for the purpose of financing, reimbursing, and refinancing the cost of the acquisition, construction, renovation, and equipment of said economic development facilities in order to foster creation to or retention of opportunities for gainful employment, the creation of business opportunities, and the creation of retention of affordable rental housing. This is at 100 Autumn Oaks Boulevard. whereas the project will be owned and operated by the borrower for use as a multifamily rental housing facility, which will provide affordable multifamily rental housing. Skip down to section 6. The common council shall not be obligated directly or indirectly to see the application or use of the proceeds from the sale of the bonds, or to see that the contemplated improvements in, if any, are constructed. This common council is in no way responsible to the holders of any bonds for any payment obligations created by the bonds. This was a lengthy resolution. We got an email on this. Does anybody, before we move on, have any questions pertaining to this?
Dave, was there anything that you feel needs to be pointed out?
Well, only that this, I did not prepare this resolution, and I just found out about it Friday, so. But it's my understanding that they don't even know if the money will be available yet. This is the first step that they will have, and this will come back to you. If the money is available, and if they're able to proceed, they will be back to you with more legislation. But at no time will this be an obligation of the city, the RDC, or any taxpayers. This is and we have someone here from the apartment complex or the developer that can answer your questions. But this is an accommodation. It's more than an accommodation. It is a government bond, but it's not like we're borrowing money. The city or a city agency is borrowing money for a public works project. This is entirely different. It's an
And
economic.
this just help gets process started.
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's called an inducement resolution,
That's
which
correct.
I had to Google what an inducement resolution is, but it's very self-explanatory if you Google that. If anybody doesn't have anything else, I move that we accept this.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mary Branington.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Silver.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beckendorf.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
That concludes ordinances and resolutions tonight. We'll do committee reports, turn the floor to Council Ian Brewington.
And I don't have anything tonight, so I'll pass it on to Jeff.
The only thing I have is I'm glad, Lee, to see some of the curbs being painted and all that. And I know of Main Street and Bundy, but you're doing other areas, and I greatly appreciate it. That's all, Your Honor.
Mr. Mayor, is there any way to hire high school students, maybe help out with that during the summertime?
We've got some applications turned in.
Okay, great. I think that would be a good way to get them involved and help lay out somewhat with that. That's nice to see. Kenny, is there a certain number for people to call with grass concerns?
521-6823.
And would you prefer a phone call or would you prefer email?
Really needs to be a phone call so the
Okay.
girls can get on the list. I know we're behind, but it's been so wet you can't get in.
Luckily, I live on a hill, so. Nice to see Dollar General finally get theirs mowed, so.
Yeah, they had a letter, and then we're going to concentrate on the parade route really this week.
And they got it swept off the sidewalks too. I drove there before the meeting, so they
Okay,
got it
good.
cleaned up fairly well. Want to say something about the Castle Heights cleanup. Big shout out to ICAP, Hope Healthy Communities, the Housing Committee, and local residents. I know Duke wasn't able to make it there because they had to spend time out at the park. Had a situation rise there. Got a lot accomplished that day, and need to thank Lee for sending the compactor there. We got to throw some things in from the dumpster, and that really helped us out. So, wanted to pat everyone on the back for that. Made a big difference that day, and luckily, we had a good weather to get all that done. And hope you're here to talk about the Stellar.
Mr. Peckinpah, I believe, has.
Okay, all right, that's all you're on.
Thank you.
I just wanted to bring up, I think, just one thing. I had talked to a lot of you to give you a heads up on this, but I was contacted by Indiana Landmarks with an opportunity. It's a non-competitive grant in the amount of $10,000 through the Ephraimson Family Fund, which is a part of Central Indiana Community Foundation. Almost all their recommendations from our region of Indiana landmarks are well received and fully funded, and the awards range from $5,000 to $10,000. They make recommendations in May. The awards come in August, September. So I think I sent you kind of a scope of the project, which is for wooden windows of the Murphy Building at the corner of Broad and Main, as well as a quote for the product and labor. And so the difference with the $10,000 award, the difference would be $12,109.26. They would take maintenance because it's an older downtown building. There would, but if we do that, they should last a while. It came up with several positives. Number one, the city can lead by example as a property owner. Number two, it adheres to the Historic Preservation District standards and guidelines. And I know that there's some missteps downtown, like the bottom floor of this building, but the Historic Preservation Commission was put in place by the NIP administration in 2005. So things before that wouldn't have gone through that process. They're less expensive than vinyl windows. And the biggest one I thought of that I've been trying to bring up more and more is that this will show Okra, Stellar, and others that we can collaborate with state agencies like Indiana Landmarks and graciously accept opportunities and successful partnerships like this. So we can go into discussion, but I just want to formally make a motion to work with Indiana Landmarks on this project and utilize riverboat funds to make up the $12,109.26 difference. And we'll have to work through Indiana Landmarks or Preserve Henry County because it has to go through a 501c3. Indiana Landmarks is definitely on board with doing that. So if anybody has questions or discussion.
Well, I'll second that so discussion can take place.
How many windows does that include?
I want to say it was 13 historic windows. Rehabilitation of 13 historic windows.
Well, there's
And
36 windows in.
then 17 new gelled wooden windows. So there's 30. And you said there's how many?
36.
Is that including the ones that are woodened out? Have the?
All those are wood.
I mean the
There's
ones that.
45 if you count the ones that
Okay.
are aluminum.
Okay.
Why would we not want to do the downstairs too? Can they?
And we can do that. Well, my conversation, because I brought that up with Michael Flowers at Indiana Landmarks about the bottom floor not meeting the standards, not being historic. It's a 1840 building, I think.
It's the oldest building probably in Henry County.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about it to me is that the owner of the building, Mr. Murphy, Miles Murphy, was a good friend of Abraham Lincoln's. I mean, I think of Abraham Lincoln often when I go by that building. I think, wow, this guy was actually a guest in the Lincoln home. So
Wow.
It's definitely worth
Yeah.
putting out.
If it's worth that for the second and first floor, why would we not want the bottom floor to look like frost and oil?
Right. Well, and that's
Walk away?
what I was getting at. So Mr. Flowers said that there would definitely be opportunities in the near future for more grant opportunities like this to address that. I mean, I don't think because this is a small grant and we're paying the difference, I don't think we want to bite off more than we can chew and just chip a little bit at a time. I think this is an immediate need, knowing the energy costs and the state of the current windows. And I think that we can kind of take some time, maybe dive into some of those old plans and really do the bottom right to where it's something that, as the property owner for now, the city of Newcastle can be proud of and point to. And it's a major focal point of downtown, and I think that it is the number 3 contributing building in the district behind the courthouse and the Jennings building.
As a property owner, it's got 3 doors on the ground level that are embarrassing, that don't work.
Right.
Well, it's our property, isn't it?
I mean, why wouldn't we want to fix the downstairs just?
Right. No, I think you're right.
But it wouldn't be, as we look at it, we have a grant, or potentially a grant that will take care of a big part of it, and we'll have to come up with $12,000 or $13,000. Is that correct, Aaron, for
Yeah.
riverboat money? Well, if we get that done, then there's nothing that says we can't then use more riverboat money to take care of the bottom
take care of
floor.
the whole-
Right.
But I
Put the
think
whole
this
bill.
particular grant takes, is dealing more with just that upper floor. Now, what we do with the bottom then is the next step in the next story, it seems like.
Well, and
Is
if
there
those,
concern about making sure that it's brought back historically, the bottom floor?
well, I mean, the specific scope of this project is they would be wood windows because that's historically compliant
No,
with.
I mean the bottom floor.
No, that's just something the mayor and I discussed, and those are valid concerns to match it and bring it back to
So if we
a
allotted-
true historic
My
building.
question is, if we allotted more money to take care of that bottom floor, would they be okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, we're using their money. Their money will go towards the wooden windows, and so anything outside of that project is kind of on us. My thinking is, if the doors are functioning, right now I can stomach them looking the way they do. If we can, bide some time
Get the
and
ball rolling,
and
yeah.
do a grant for
I
the
think what
bottom
Brett's
floor.
is, we'll proceed with that and all that, and then get an estimate for the bottom and go from there.
Because we can get an estimate and do the bottom anytime we want to if we're going
Right.
to take it out of riverboat money.
Right.
Well, and I think this will make going for another grant opportunity to finalize the outside of that building look more attractive because we've taken this step.
Well, don't put a final dollar figure on, because there's windows in the back of it that nobody can see that the glass is gone.
Yeah.
There's no glass in it. So, if it's gonna be done, it needs to be done all the way around, not just the front one.
Right.
We're not
Right.
sure McKnight, who is,
Behind you.
finest.
Sit right behind you.
Hey, Richard.
I won't tell him, you can tell him, you said it was probably the most important historic building that we have left.
It's
Is
the
that
oldest,
correct?
oldest downtown building, 1840. I mean, going inside, there are two windows that we think possibly are the original 1840 windows, so. Wood windows will last if they're properly maintained.
So, Mr. Mayor, you ask and get a final count of the windows, make sure we get them all taken care of. Is that, could we do that, Aaron?
Yeah, I would say at this point, can we allot the 12,000? Let's just
Well, I
allot
would think if
13,000.
we pass this motion, that's what we're doing.
And then
Yeah.
if there's more,
I'd say
if
up
it
to
comes
15.
up,
I'd just go ahead and make it for up to 15, because there's some windows in the back.
Right.
That's literally leaking through to the downstairs.
everybody okay with that?
So do you amend, just say you amend your motion?
So
to
yeah,
15.
we can vote on it, I
And I'll
guess.
second that.
I'll amend it to say up to 15.
And I'll
Go ahead,
second
Lynn.
it.
Would- Yeah, well, we need to make it watertight for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a must, and to do this at this point, that's such a sign of good faith that we want to bring that property back to standard, so, I think it's an excellent idea.
Mike, did you have something you were want to say? Richard, there's something you want to say?
No, just, I think it's great the Indian landmarks, they it's a priority for this region. A lot of communities were wanting this grant, but landmarks felt that this was the most important thing the region to address. And as you very well know, the windows are in dire need of repair and to have, historically replaced, great first step, and that will open the door for more grant money for that.
Well, if they see it's a dire need, you ask for more money now?
Does that mean Yoda
Nice.
leaves?
We better get
It's
what we
five,
can.
yeah, it's like 5 to 10. They do little projects, but I think it was huge. I think Indiana Landmarks came last year to a citywide meeting that we had about our downtown with downtown stakeholders. I think this is just another step in solidifying that relationship, and they're obviously thinking about us and going to bat for us when it counts. And I think that's important in solidifying and bringing our downtown back.
Well, I wasn't aware of the windows in the back. We all know water intrusion will destroy a building. So, you said up to 15, Mr. Mayor, is that enough? I mean, I am.
Well, I think.
Well, I mean, just to
But
make
for
it
this
water.
grant
Well, I
right
understand
here.
that, but I mean, I feel the sense of urgency here to make the thing watertight.
I suggest you all take a trip through the building.
I've been up there.
And you'll see how big the need is.
See, I'm where Lynn is, if we're gonna to do this,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Let's do it.
I'd love for
But-
downstairs to look like.
but I wanna,
But-
make sure that we're following guidelines.
Right,
of
what we
the
have over here is we have a grant, and we need a certain amount of money to match that.
Fred.
Now, that's great, that's separate than anything we wanna do after that.
We
So
can always come
we
back
pass
to this.
this, and then we may
Right.
right
That's
now
about
at this
money.
meeting come back and say, hey, let's set aside $10,000 to take care of anything else we need to take care of, or whatever it is. But we got a deal, I think, with the motion on the table and the grant
Right.
that needs that specific amount of money.
I mean, at this
I
point,
mean-
we're only aware of what we're aware of.
Right.
So we can revisit this discussion once we get into it, because as we all know, projects that, happen don't typically happen the way they do on paper. But then I really think that we just, I agree that I would love to see that building, look like the Henshaw building. I think that's what you were talking about.
Right.
But I think we need to be smart in how we financially do it, because I think that there are grants out there, which I know includes applications, red tape, doing it a certain way. But I think that that's going to be the most cost-effective way to do a project that scale.
Are you firm, are you sure about those numbers?
I mean, I've got the proposal right here, and he even went back and looked at the proposal after we talked, and he sent it to me. I mean, Richard, do you have anything that you
From
can
a
add?
contractor or from who?
Well, it's from Indiana Landmarks, who worked through Carter Lumber and Tom Banner. Brammer, sorry. Wrong Tom.
I'm confident in those figures, that's what Michael Flowers came up with, working with Tom Brammer, and gave the estimates, so.
And this wouldn't be Tom's first project either, because I think he did the Jennings building windows as well.
It is for their Henry County's project here.
Right, there you go.
So is there a special inspector that goes through this historically and looks this?
No, we kind of worked in conjunction with Michael Flowers from the Indiana Landmarks, so there's no one that they bring over to inspect this. Michael's been to a lot of our preservation commission meetings, he knows the problems of those windows. We went up there a couple months ago, as the mayor said, there's a couple windows that there's no glass in them, so.
These windows will come from a local supplier too, is that correct? Like the bids?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But we literally canceled one cruise in because the window on the very corner just sucked out, just floated down like a napkin. It cut somebody's head off if it would. We put
So there's
plexiglass in.
not gonna be any big surprises up there like there was when they tore the furniture store down. The floors aren't gonna be all rotted out and
The
everything?
floors are pretty solid.
Okay.
Floors are pretty
Well,
solid.
and the scope of this project's just the windows too, so I think anything that would be a surprise wouldn't be too costly.
Yeah, I bet you're praying they're solid, Corey. Well, I mean, you never know. When you get into construction, you don't know what you're getting into until you
Especially
start
in buildings.
pulling stuff out.
Well, it's a lot bigger than just the windows. So.
Right,
Right.
right,
The building needs painted now.
right.
I'd want a motion, we call the question. If anybody seconds that, that means we gotta vote, and then we actually take the vote.
I'll second that, yes.
Roll call vote.
Any more?
Call the question, then that means that kills
Roll
the
call vote.
discussion, and we go on.
Discussion, vote.
Mary Brandon.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Koger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beck.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now,
Motion carries 7-0.
So now we vote on the motion.
Oh, so that was for your,
Aaron made that motion.
that was for your
That was to
motion.
just end the
End the discussion, all right.
Okay.
Roll
Okay.
call vote, please.
Okay, Mary Brandon.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walton.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Koger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beck.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
The final motion was for up to 15 grand from.
Yeah, up to
Yep.
15.
Yep,
Yeah, up to 15 is what Aaron's doing.
Yeah, got it.
that's all I have. Thanks for your guys' consideration, appreciate it.
Just to thank Aaron for going this extra mile, and he's done a lot of legwork on this grant along with Richard. to bring it to our attention, and we truly appreciate it. I mean, it's,
Thanks, Richard.
yeah, thank you, thank you both for your time and efforts. That's all I had today.
Nothing.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we, once we know the scope of the number of windows that they're going to repair and what they're going to repair or replace, that we then get a quote for the remainder of the windows and the bottom floor and allocate up to 20,000 of riverboat money to handle that. So,
In addition to.
in addition, you know, I mean, so that we can get that whole building watertight, you know.
Is the roof okay?
For now, it's 26, 27 years old, but
Is it tar?
no.
It's shingles?
Is there,
What you might want to consider
Place to
is
start.
getting an architect to go through the building who works with Indiana Landmarks.
Yeah, let's see.
And could go through
He's
the
going
building
where
and
I
give
was
you
going.
estimates on what he believes needs to be done to make it look like you want it to look.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion. Richard, could you help us with that?
We can apply, they can apply for, or they can apply through Preserve Henry County for an architectural survey of the building through landmarks. So they're-
Okay.
I think they have to come up, I believe, I'm quoting, I think around $1,500, and they would match the remaining,
Could-
be a detailed survey. of the
That'd be-
building.
Could you find out about that for us maybe by our next meeting, and then we could, you know, because I think we need to get on that, you know, this summer or fall, so we don't go through another winter and another spring without having that building at least
Watertight.
watertight, yeah, like Glenn said, yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 different style windows in that building. How particular are you gonna be about the wooden windows? All matching, or do they need to go back?
Thank you, I appreciate
There's
that.
some 12 slots, and there's some 2 slots, and
Michael wants to come to look at
might
windows,
be good.
I think maybe there's what's called 4 windows, like 4 pane over 4. But then there are 2 windows that I think are like 10 or maybe 12 panes, or even 12 over 12, which I think might be the original windows, so.
But he'll come back with a full report once we
Yes.
get the
Yeah.
survey, so that's good. Okay, then the other thing I wanted to bring up was the Stellar opportunity. Had the opportunity last Thursday to go to Bedford and basically kind of see their wrap up. What happened down in Bedford was phenomenal, some of the projects and things we saw. Of course, we all know Rushville had the Stellar, and they've done a lot of projects and had a lot of positive impact. I think there was an article somewhere that mentioned that the possibility was that it had up to 80 million of ancillary value, it came, not only the project, but the other things that came out of the project. And so I think we really need to get on board and push for this. I honestly feel like that we have a pretty decent opportunity. I mean, every meeting we go to, we're represented well, and I think we're developing good rapport with the people from Okra and that type of thing. But we need community involvement. We need information out there so that people can get involved. I mean, we talked about 3 projects as a council, but it's not just limited to that. It can be some other things can be injected as we move on, because we may see some things and think, well, this is something that can get done. And they like projects with plans. They like projects that involve more than one group. So I think though that we can really, if we get on board this, we've got a chance to make it happen. The worst that happens is I think we've got $330-some thousand to split between us and Henry County and Knightstown. I mean, that's, I'll take $100-some thousand if that's what it comes down to, but I think we can do better than that. And I think, I would have asked Dr. Hamilton to speak, but I think she left. But it is moving along, and I've got high hopes, so that's kind of where it's at. If you got any
Rex,
questions?
we've got a lot of pluses going. Our
Oh, sure.
comprehensive plan won the award that it did, our streets evaluation, Dave, that's going to be a big part of it. Mayor, you put a lot of things in place that's going to benefit this. The land bank, that's going to be a part of the puzzle. All the work that Ed's done, that's going to be a part of the puzzle. just for Newcastle.
I mean, some of the projects down in Bedford were just, you know, it was amazing, some of the things they did and some of the benefits to their communities.
They want us thinking outside the box too, so.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, that's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Chief?
The second digital speed limit sign, I've, for the last 4 weeks, been kind of taking a look at the Bakers Park area and doing my own little traffic study down there. And about 95% of the vehicles are traveling over the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And with summer coming on and the aquatics park opening, I've decided to move that second sign over to the post directly in front of the aquatic center for the summer. And then we'll collect our data off of it and see if we want to do that annually every summer since we have so much activity down there.
Okay, good. Great. Chief? Peter? Dan? Dave? Council? Rick? Ed? Greg?
We were approached, I've had a couple phone calls from the lady that runs the senior center about adding some handicap parking places up around the senior center. Today, when we were painting curbs, on Main Street, right across from the castle, the way that was originally painted, you could maybe park one car in there. Well, I had the guys not paint all the way up to that, and if the city traffic committee would wanna look at that, we might be able to place 3 handicap parking places there for the senior center, or just designated that for the senior center and open that up just a little bit for some more handicap parking places.
On the west side?
Actually, it'd be on the east
East
side.
side.
Across from the
Right
market.
across from the castle.
Is that part of visibility?
That was,
Yeah,
that was
that
one
was-
spot.
That was the reason.
Yeah,
We did 2
we cut
spaces
down,
or something.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, down.
Okay, well, she was asking about
We
that.
could still-
so-
Yeah, because you had to get way out there really to.
Right.
Because
To
of the,
see what's
it's
going
one-way
on.
traffic right here, but even if we put 2 in there, that would at
Right.
least help them out a little bit, because right now, what's happening on the west side by the courthouse, CID has moved in there, is that right, chief?
Yes.
And there's usually 1 or 2 police cars that are parked in there, and that's kind of taking some parking away from
We,
the senior center.
we designated, what, 2 or 3 senior?
Well, we talked, that's what I was gonna bring up.
2
We,
handicap.
we talked about 3 handicap
Yeah.
spots on, what is that road? It's heading towards the Arts Park.
Race
Is that
Street.
Race?
Yeah.
3 on Race. I think we got 1 and maybe pushed 2. I can't, there is 2 there. So, I mean, we do need to find spots. I know they need them.
We'll turn that over to traffic.
And could we ask the
And come up
sheriff's
with-
department not to just pull up there in that area that's supposed to be a drop-off for the senior center?
Well,
And
seniors
just
do it
park?
too. They-
Well, I'd rather a senior do it than somebody that's supposed to respect the law, you know? I mean, honestly, I mean, you know, if a senior does it, well, yeah, but you know, you're kind of supposed to
Well,
respect the law.
during
and they
senior
don't.
hours.
Yeah.
I mean, after
Like,
hours.
After hours, I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
It'd be nice if they left that area open so seniors could pull up there and drop off. And then Lee, while you're on this, what's our situation on toters?
As far as.
Well, we were gonna get new ones in. Did we
We've
get
got-
new ones in?
Yes, sir. We've got new ones and we have been distributing them. The problem is, it's not, we were able to get 250. Okay, we've still probably got somewhere around 80 of those left. And that's when, back earlier in the year, I did ask for a rate increase to help with the toter purchases. The company that we bought from are half the price of what the original toters were. But if we go back to try to buy the parts for the original toters, they're almost as much as what
Buying a new one.
buying a new toter is. So that's why when people are calling and asking about lids for the original toters, those were $27 a piece, and I can buy the whole toter for $40, $45 a piece, from the company that we just bought the 250 from. So that's why we haven't bought any replacement lids, because you can't really justify spending that much money on just a lid when you buy the whole toter for $20 more.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? Other races? Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Something interesting, Bill Aegis and Jim Olin just walked in. They're both direct descendants of Miles Murphy. And his portrait hangs at the Historical Society, painted back in 1868. So anybody wants to put a museum and see a portrait of Miles Murphy behind it.
Jim's portrait?
Well, let's get on that.
That's next.
Thank you. Are there any citizens wishing to come before the council this evening? Come ahead.
Of course, you all remember me. This is my third summer coming up here.
Hang on.
I won't move. Anyway, this is my third summer, and nothing's changed. I asked for a speed limit change, it's still 30 miles an hour, and it's still a drag strip. I mean, just yesterday, I got done mowing my yard. She was trimming the bush. I was trimming the grass. A truck goes by. He stomps on it, hard as he could go, and from Cherrywood, Main Street, I'd hate to have to buy his brakes. So I'm mad that he goes through them pretty quick. But that's how fast he took off and went through there.
What's your address?
1324 Q Avenue.
So it's really not about 30 miles an hour, it's about people speeding through that area.
No, I want to change to 20. I want them to slow down even more, because if Parkside can get 20, and Midway Drive got 20, why not Q Avenue there get 20? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, they just changed theirs recently, right? And I've been asking for it for 3 years now.
We'll turn that over to traffic committee and we'll take a look at
That's
it.
what I've been told before. And they come and look, and they said, well, I didn't see nothing unusual. I even had a police officer sit there in the alley.
I promise you.
And I talked to him, and he said, I did see one go 35, and I said,
Right.
well, why didn't you go after him?
Right.
I promise you the traffic committee will take a look at
I
it.
remember last year when I was in Sunnyside driving that and purposely looked down at 30 miles an hour, and I can see how 30 miles an hour would look fast. You referenced the truck. I know that, no offense to those types of truck drivers, but they want to blow smoke all the time, and that happens, all around town. So we'll take a look at it. Let's reconsider, a speed limit change. Drive through there a little bit, and obviously
Just like
talk
he's
with
talking
the.
about Parkside Avenue. They don't do 20 down through there.
Right.
And
Well, and that's the hard part too. If you changed it to 20, I mean, I think that's what's hard about speed limit changes is that.
I do the 20.
Right.
And if I drive my truck, I can't even see the car behind me. He's trying to push me.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's where it's a driver issue, not a speed limit issue.
I thought, well, bud, you're not going nowhere
Right.
till I get to it.
Right.
And as soon as I get Trojan Avenue,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
let me just say, your complaints has not fallen on deaf ears, because you solely are the responsible for getting our speed limit signs that we've got. And I'm sure that section of street will be put on a rotation for these speed limit signs through
I
there.
hope so.
It will.
I mean, there's kids in that neighborhood.
You've been
And I've
very
told you time
consistent.
again,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get hit one of these.
Yeah, you're
Some of
exactly.
them don't even pay attention.
We'll make sure that section gets in the
And it's-
rotation for those
It's
signs.
a terrible street. I've tried to walk across the street and have to stand there for several minutes before I could even cross with the traffic going by. I mean,
Don't move to my house.
I ain't moving to your house. Matter of fact, I made it back to the country.
All right, thank you.
That was a bad mistake, moving from there to here.
Mr. Radford, maybe you can emphasize the fact that we've got summer coming, a lot of kids out, and, I mean, I think we're in danger all over Newcastle.
Yeah.
It's not just in one spot.
Right.
Are there any other citizens wishing to come before the council this evening?
Your Honor, I move we adjourn. We've got
Executive
We adjourn at this point in time if everyone